Hello and welcome to the Money Compass.
In each episode, we will be preparing you for your journey through the world of finance and helping you tick off the destinations on your financial itinerary.
Pack your bags and prepare for takeoff as you navigate your way to financial success.
I am joined today by the lovely Emma Greenfield, and she is from the Empire Project. So it's lovely to have you with us today, Emma.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here. Thank you very much for having me.
Wow, right. So if I can ask you to start by telling me a little bit about who you are and what exactly it is that you do.
Yeah, absolutely. So obviously my name's Emma. And
Good name.
Yeah. And obviously last year, I think it was, I started to create the Empire Project. Mm-hmm. And that kind of came from, I've spent 22 years in the property industry actually, doing, and the last 10 years of that was actually doing mergers and acquisitions. And what I found during that time was that I bought over 200 businesses for different corporates and private equity firms over the last 10 years. And what I found was probably only 2% of those businesses actually had a planned exit strategy and knew what they were doing when they came to sell their business. And most of these were coming from brokers, which was more shocking, the fact that they just weren't prepared for a sale. So what happened was they went through a sale process of their business and just became really quickly overwhelmed, weren't able to manage the process effectively, and therefore were making rushed, under pressure, bad decisions about selling their business in the future because they didn't realise that actually some liability will always remain with a seller when they sell their business. So I kind of wanted to change that in two areas. One, in that I want business owners to be prepared when they sell their business. Mm-hmm. So actually know what's going to happen so that they can actually sell their business for more money, mitigate risks in their business before they put it on the market and sell it, and just generally be prepared overall. And secondly, I want to encourage more women to do it, because typically it's usually a male thing. That it's normally men that sell the businesses. Women generally don't think that way, often due to mindset and other issues. And I think out of the 200 I bought, only 2 of those were owned by women. Wow. And I think there's a study that looked at the last 20 years worth of M&A transactions, and it was only 1% of businesses that were owned by women that were actually sold. The rest were all by men. And it's just it was just an eye-opener, and it stemmed from, I read the Alison Rose review of female entrepreneurship, which she did for the UK government, and in there was this whole 180-page document about basically why women don't scale their businesses. And I just thought, I've got all this experience and knowledge of buying and selling businesses, and I just wanted to do something that would help to encourage more women and entrepreneurs, any business owner, to know exactly what's involved so that they can realise actually it's quite a good thing. It's not overwhelming. It's mergers and acquisitions is not about stocks and shares and stock markets, and it's for any business owner of any size. So the Empire Project was created out of that. I want to help educate people and help people through the process, basically.
Fantastic. I must say, I really like the name for it as well. Not only has it got M for Emma in it, but as in it, your business is your empire. People work so hard for it and create what they do for like with their business, that it just seems silly that you don't think about what you're going to do with it at the end.
Absolutely. And that's actually one of the biggest hurdles, is that most business owners don't realize that their business is actually an asset. So they think about it as an income driving machine, so it brings them in income every month, but they don't think about the bigger picture and the fact that it's actually an asset that's got a value, an enterprise value, and they should actually be implementing strategies in their business that drive up their enterprise value, so that when they are ready to sell or exit their business, then it's already operating at its maximum value, so they can sell it for its maximum value. So it's just a different shift in mindset, really.
Yeah. So it sounds like quite a niche area that you're working in. How did you find that it was something that you were good at and something that you could do?
Do you know what? It was just it just kind of happened. It obviously I've done it for 10 years, and I've always been in project management. That's what I've always done, mainly in the property industry, and essentially selling a business or buying a business is essentially running a project. So in the first 12 years of my career, I was running different projects, mainly for different property companies. And which actually was originally shop fitting, sourcing commercial premises and shop fitting. And then I was actually headhunted by Countrywide PLC, one of the biggest property companies in the UK, because the skill set of running a project is transferable into doing mergers and acquisitions, because all you're essentially doing is running a project. It's creating a deal team. Making sure that everybody knows their roles and responsibilities, making sure certain tasks are achieved, and then the outcome is that you've either bought a business or you've sold a business. So it's just essentially that's the skill set you need, is just to be aware of risk. It's a lot about risk management and risk analysis, and actual project management. I think people often don't think about mergers and acquisitions being that, but actually that's the only thing you need.
Yeah.
So the niche really was just, I kind of fell into it, and then just over experience. It was, even on my first day, I was going on the train down to London for my first day at Countrywide headquarters, and obviously I'd never done a mergers and acquisitions deal before, other than a couple of small businesses that I'd sold that were my own. I was literally reading Mergers and Acquisitions for Dummies on the train on the way down, and I literally arrived there, and then I very quickly realised you have to learn it as you go through, and I think that's where a lot of business owners actually, this is why they struggle, because you only a normal person probably only normally sells a business once, or buys a business once. And
not something you do every day, let's face it.
Exactly, yeah. So you will go through a natural learning curve, and obviously I just thought I need this experience that I've had of buying so many businesses. I can help business owners who want to exit, because I've learned the lessons. I know not what to do. I know what you definitely need to do. I know what you need to plan to make sure certain things don't happen. So it was just, the niche, I suppose, that I picked was just, I need to use this experience that I've learned to help business owners, because I think one of the statistics is, like the normal business for sale websites, I think actually only 20% of businesses on there actually sell. And that's because they think they're going to sell their business. They just put it, they put an advert on, they go to sell it. But what actually happens is 9 times out of 10, they're not attracting the right buyers. They're not going through the right process. They get into the sale, then they realise they're not prepared, so they pull out. Then they go to a broker. A broker doesn't actually help you prepare a business for sale, other than preparing your marketing material as such. A broker's job is to match your opportunity with their database. Once they've done that, they step away, and then they charge like 10% of your sale price for doing that. And
all they've actually done is match you up with the person to buy or sell your business. They haven't
exactly. And to me, that is just absolutely ridiculous that people, business owners give away literally thousands of pounds to brokers in their fee for doing it, rather than using an M&A advisor that can, will actually just help them prepare it and let them do it themselves. A broker can't sell a business for you. Only a business owner can sell their business, because they're the only ones that know every single intricacy about how a business operates. So, the only person that can sell a business is the business owner. There is nobody else. Anyone else is just assisting, really. But yeah, it was born out of frustration. I don't know why people use business brokers, other than, unless you were probably in a really niche industry where you needed to find a specific buyer. But even then, you would have a team. You wouldn't just have a broker. You'd need to have M&A advisors. Just as an example, I was involved in a sale that completed in December that we sold for £100 million to one of the biggest banks. It took us 3 years to prepare that business for sale. And yes, we used some brokers to secure a buyer, but actually we had a team of M&A advisors, me being one of them. And, you know, we spent 3 years getting that business ready. So yeah, that's
like a really good feeling when a deal can kind of take that long to go through to get to the end of that and the completion. It must feel really good for you.
Absolutely. It's more relief, I think, for business owners. You know, there's 5 different reasons that people generally exit a business, and the most common that 50% of the businesses sell for is a change of lifestyle. So that's 9 times out of 10 it's retirement. Or it could be, you know, it could be that somebody's running a business to fit around a certain lifestyle requirements, and then those requirements change, so they then decide to sell the business and do something else. So yeah, I mean, you know, all the sellers that I've worked with, it's just on that day of completion, it's just relief. And it's, you know, that they can spend more time with their family, you know, they can spend time with their grandchildren, they can go traveling. It's just, when we talked a minute ago about assets, you know, what you're building as a business owner is an asset that has a value. And when you sell that, you're releasing cash from something you've worked on. So then you can fulfill all these other dreams that you've had in your life. And I think one of the mistakes I think a lot of business owners make is that they hold on to their businesses too long.
Yeah.
So they think that they run through and they go, oh, right, I'm ready to retire now. But actually, they should have started preparing the business for sale 3 years before, or at least 3 years before, you know, 1 year before maybe, because of how you do due diligence. But, you know, 3 years before ideally, because then you're building up that asset to get the amount of money that you need to fulfill what you want to do when you've moved on. So yeah, I think that's the biggest tip, I think, for business owners is just don't wait until you're ready. You need to prepare a lot earlier than you're ready. I think every single business plan from the outset should know exactly what their exit strategy is, because you need to be working on your exit strategy through all of the business life cycle.
Would you say 3 years is kind of a typical time that you'd need if you haven't got any kind of preparation or plan in place?
100%, yeah. And it's mainly because when you do due diligence, when you're buying a business, you look back on the last 3 years' history. So if you've had any risk in your business, if you've had, you know, if your financials are quite sound enough, a buyer will pick that up because they're analysing the last 3 years. Right. So 100%, yes, you need to. What I do with my clients is I get them to carry out what's called reverse due diligence. So it's exactly the same due diligence process as if somebody was buying your business, but I do it with them 3 years before. So I can pull out all of the risk in their business and say, these are the things that you need to now work on for the next 3 years. It might not necessarily be a risk. It might be that they can strengthen their turnover or their product line, or scale and automate certain processes so they can move to working on the business rather than in the business. So it's different strategies, but by doing that reverse due diligence, I can say, well, actually, if I was buying your business today, these are all the reasons that I wouldn't buy it, or these are all the reasons that I think, you know, you would have to negotiate on your price, or these are all the reasons that you're not going to get the sale value that you want to get today. So it's so yes, 3 years definitely is the period that you really should be working on your business before you sell it. Definitely.
Okay. So you mentioned then as well that obviously working on your business rather than in your business. Would you say that a big problem that business owners have, that they're kind of too tied to their business personally and that they're too involved?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the biggest risks actually to buying as a buyer of businesses is when the business is too reliant on their owner. So you have to start moving away in that period up to selling your business, because you know, it comes down to 2 things: your team and your clients. So if your clients are buying into that business because of you, and then you sell that business and you go, there's a risk to the buyer that those clients will then leave. Mm-hmm. So you're kind of having to start to sever those ties and try to build a more of a reliance of your clients with your team, rather than with you as the business owner. Because like I say, it's when you're buying a business, you're buying the clients, the contract, the team, and the value that all those bring. So if there's any risk of any of those being affected, the value of the business that you've just bought will be affected. So they're the three risks that essentially where of areas that you've got to start working on.
I see. So I've seen recently lots of kind of new businesses that pop up, basically building their brand around themselves, that they are the business. So from your point of view, someone starting a new business, does that pose a problem that almost they're branding it as they are the business? How does that kind of help?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, there's a lot of personal brands out there at the moment, and especially in like business consultancy, or like online training. There's a very heavy reliance at the minute of people setting these businesses up with their name as the core product and what they can do. And I think, again, with this 3-year preparation, you can still sell those type of businesses. It's just harder. It's just, you would have to move to a different type of business model before. So you can still be providing those services. You can still be a consultant or an online trainer or whatever you want to be with your personal brand, but you would have to, for example, bring in other trainers. So you're more like turning into an academy, or a range of consultants. So your business model is changing from being less personal to providing a bank of services, and that way your business is then more saleable because it's not reliant on you and your name and your reputation. It's not to say that any of those businesses are it's not a bad thing to do, and it just might be that their specific business model is the fact that they're running it's called a lifestyle business, and it just means that they're earning money each year to live a certain lifestyle. And actually that is a form of exit strategy, because you can a lifestyle, when you run a lifestyle business, essentially what you do is you keep drawing the profits out every year, but not putting the business into the red. And then when you want to exit, you take everything out, consolidate liquidate the assets, and then you leave. So that it's not a bad thing to do. That is just a form of exit strategy, but it's different to selling a business. It's just one of the 6 different ways you can exit a business. So it's not necessarily wrong, but it's just, if you're creating an asset to sell, then I wouldn't recommend it.
Fair enough, completely. You mentioned earlier as well about one of the kind of biggest reasons that people sell their business or exit their business is for lifestyle, and the biggest one being retirement. That's something that I see quite a lot of. So we go out to see clients, they've worked years and years and years, built their business. A lot of them have scaled up, like you've talked about, and then they come to thinking about selling their business and looking at retirement, and their children suddenly decide that actually they want to keep the business, and parents end up feeling they kind of obliged to just give the business to the children, and that's pretty much their kind of plan gone. Do you kind of work with people in that situation, or do you have any kind of suggestions what that kind of person could do?
Yeah, so that is essentially 2 other forms of exit strategy. So there's the legacy. So if you're running your business because you're creating a legacy, which basically means you want to pass it on to your family when you retire, then that's one method. Another method is, well, there's two methods now in one, which is either a management buyout or an employee ownership trust. So both forms obviously are, in terms of transferring a business on, they're less risky because you are passing it on to people that probably already know your business inside and out already. So that the chance of the transfer of control causing any risks after the sale are obviously a lot less. What it does do, however, is obviously the positives of it is that you're not alerting your competitors that you're ready to exit the market. So one of the risks to selling a business is the fact that your competitors might find out, and then they start using that against you to poach your clients. So it's a safer way of exiting your business. But yes, a lot of business owners do pass it on to children, it's actually only 10%.
Really?
It's small, it's lower percentage than you would think out of all the business exits. It's actually only 10% of businesses that pass it on as a legacy to their family, and it's a 10% again that will do like a management buyout or an employee ownership trust. So it's in terms of actually releasing cash for yourselves, what you would probably do is it's a different way of packaging the sale. So there's lots of different ways you can sell a business and lots of different like legal aspects to it. Yeah. But what you would probably do, and it works both for passing on to children and both for a management buyout and employee ownership trust, it might be that you agree a value for the transfer of the business into their control, but you don't necessarily release that as cash straight away. So you agree a plan together. So it might be like, in 3 years, you will pay me this amount of money. But what I will do is I'll work as a consultant for that 3-year period to help you drive up the money to pay me that amount of money. So when you get to the 3-year point, you can then take that cash out from what you've agreed. Actually, they then transfer, the control transfers to that family member or that management team. So that's one way that you can actually handle that transfer. So you still release the cash, you're still selling your business, but you're working with them to actually do that transfer. And it's probably one of the best ways to handle that type of sale.
Fair enough. So you've still kind of got a lot of control over it, but it's not your plan out the window. You can still retire and do what you want to do, but just in
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, obviously, a lot of business owners obviously do create their business with a view to building this legacy to pass on to their children. But I think when it actually comes to the crunch, and I think the reason that it is so low is that actually when it comes to it, the children may not then want to actually take it on. They've created their own path.
Create this, and then they're like, no, mum, no, dad.
Exactly. Yeah, and I think that's why it is only 10%, because it's wonderful that they've created this legacy. See, I've worked in the property industry, like I said, for 22 years. If you think about the names of estate agents, they're nearly all surnames of the surveyors. They've based all of those on their family names, thinking that their children will then come up and then they'll pass it on, and it'll be turned into, instead of Smith and Co, it will turn onto Smith and Sons or whatever, and then it becomes, and then that name stays on. But what actually happens is 9 times out of 10 the children actually take it over. They have to sell it anyway. So that's, I know. Yeah, and you'll probably find the children are probably actually already working in the business for them. If they want to take it over, they'll already be working in that business with them. And then it's really just the same foundations as a management transfer, because they're probably, by that stage, they're already probably a director in your company anyway. So you are still selling your business down the line, passing the control to that new director, and you can still take cash out of the business for that sale.
Fantastic. So obviously the last 16 months has been a bit of a whirlwind for lots of different businesses. Would you say that it's had a big impact on the amount of people that have decided actually now's the time to leave my business? Or
that's a really good question. Do you know what? I haven't seen it yet. And actually I've been studying the statistics quite a lot, obviously, over the last 16 months, because I was trying to see whether there was any increase in business closures. And typically every year there's about 300,000 business closures in the UK every year anyway, and they're ones that close, they don't sell. What actually happened is, in the last same hour for Q4 2020, the number wasn't any different to any previous year. So it was either that COVID hadn't yet affected these businesses enough that they needed to close, or people were coming in and buying them. So there was a transfer of control before they got to that stage. I don't think I've necessarily seen an increase in people wanting to sell due to the pandemic affecting their businesses. And I think it's largely because it's too soon, because obviously the government was supporting these businesses with different grants and supports, and the furlough scheme, obviously. Most businesses have just tried to hold on. So now they're at the point where they're coming back in. And now they're starting to rebuild these businesses, and they're probably going to have to. It's going to be it's the make or break decision. Are you going to carry on growing it, or are you going to go? It's now is the point that they're going to start making those decisions. So I think by the end of 21's business closures figures will be more of an eye opener to whether the pandemic's actually affected business ownership or not.
Yeah.
Because we'll see what happens now. And I think what is actually the biggest driver is, we were just talking about retirement, is what they call it the baby boomer generation. So actually the biggest driver is, in the next 5 to 10 years, they say that 75% of business owners will be going into retirement, because it's the baby boomer era. So actually, if you think about the 6 million businesses in the UK at the moment, so if 75% of those in the next 5 to 10 years are then going to be ready for retirement and sell, that's when you're going to get this surge of businesses available on the market to sell. Some of those might make the different exit strategy decision. It might not be to sell. It might be to liquidate and close it. It might be the lifestyle business that we talked about. Mm-hmm. You might be, passing it on to their family. So not necessarily going to be selling it. But yeah, I think that in the next 5 to 10 years, that's where we're going to see that surge. And I think that's where now, coming out of the pandemic, this is where business owners need to really review what is it they're actually going to want in the next 3 to 5 years. What should they actually be working on in their business now? Because business models in general have changed. We've moved to online Zoom calls, logistically delivering everything differently. We've got businesses that never did deliveries before that suddenly started delivering various different products and services. There's a boom in the online industry because lots of people have gone into the online industry to do different training and consultancy. So what generally happens is there'll be this boom, and then they'll be ready to sell. So I think then the time will come that they want to sell. So I think in 5 years' time, there'll be a huge amount of businesses coming into the market, which is a good thing for young businesses now, because they will then be able to take that opportunity to scale their business by buying other businesses. Yeah. So which will help them expand their market share. It will help them add on new products and services that they maybe don't currently offer, but that another company does. So there's a huge opportunity coming up for business owners to actually scale, and take advantage of this. And I think what they found is a lot of new businesses, like the younger generation now, say 20s to 30s, obviously their businesses at the moment are based on very online models, tech-based models. That generally is like the new business structures that are coming through. What they haven't got is that grit and determination and that business experience that you've had, where you're going through peaks and troughs in different industries. Property industry, boom and bust is constant. So they haven't got that experience of going through it. So what they generally will need to do is they'll need to buy that experience. So if they're buying these businesses that are coming up for their baby boomer exit, then they're buying that knowledge. They're buying that all of that business that's been built on this, how to survive through these different peaks and troughs. So what will come out of that is really solid business models. So I think I'm quite excited to actually see what comes out of the next 5 to 10 years, because there's going to have to be this merger of young, new and improved and young skill sets, and this, I've been in it, I've literally, built this business from the ground up, grit together. It's going to create some phenomenal businesses, really.
It'll be a completely new experience and something that we've never kind of seen before.
Yeah, absolutely.
Be really interesting to see what comes from it.
Yeah, definitely. I think one of the I think when it comes to retirement, one of the things that worry business owners the most is the fear of the unknown. It not in the sales process, but in what they're going to do after they've sold. And it's because they've probably spent 8, 10, 15, 20 years building this business, in that business, all of the hours, the blood, sweat and tears that they've put into it. And then they sell it, and then they're like, oh, right, okay, well, what's next? And I think to smooth that transition, and it's certainly things I'll work on with my clients, is I recommend that they do things like, volunteering or becoming like a non-executive director, so that they can still use that knowledge and skill set that they've built, but just do it on a lower scale, part-time basis, so they still feel that they've got a purpose. I think it's that sense of they lose that sense of purpose, and that fear of that unknown is what stops them preparing their business for sale, because they think, I'm not ready, the blinkers on, I'm not ready to retire. Yeah, exactly. Then they suddenly they go like, oh no, I'm ready to retire now. But what actually they should have done is worked on it earlier. They should have been preparing, because now they've then got to spend a year minimum, I would say, preparing that business, working with an advisor to get that business saleable, and then they're just getting overwhelmed because their mindset was already that they want to retire a year ago or 3 years ago. So by preparing as early as possible, it just helps them. It helps the process when they want to exit not be as daunting, not be as overwhelming, because they're more prepared for it. They knew it was coming. Yeah. And I think that's probably my biggest tip for people that are going into retirement is don't be worried about the fear of the unknown. It's better to be prepared and focus on what your vision is for your retirement. Work out what cash you actually need to fulfill that retirement plan, and then work on building your business assets to be worth that value, so that when you sell it, you've got the cash to then go and fulfill your dreams.
Yeah.
So I think that's probably my biggest tip.
You haven't got the cash to start with necessarily. You're kind of projecting what pot you would need to be able to do it. So
exactly. Yeah. And I think that's one of the first things that any business owner should do when they're first starting a business, is they should be actually looking at what cash that they need to fulfill whatever their plan is after they exit, at any stage. But it doesn't have to be retirement. It's, what cash do I need at the end, and then work that back. So say I need, £2 million to fulfill my dreams. I know that for years 1 to 5, I therefore need to be earning 125 in the first year, 250 in the second year, 500 in the third year, $1 million in the fourth year, 2 million in the fifth year, and then sell it for 2 million. Yeah. Because so it's just having that. You need to be really strategic about how you run your business. You need to have an exit strategy in your business plan that is based on what you need to achieve after you've sold your business, how you're going to fund the next vision, what your next step's going to be. So I think it's you have to have an exit strategy in your personal and business plan.
Yeah. So do you work with anybody that's not necessarily looking to exit their business? They are just looking to scale up. Do you work with people kind of on a much longer term? So eventually one day they might sell, but actually at the moment they're just growing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So one of over the last 3 years, what the main part of the job that I've actually done with working with a huge company in the property industry was that we worked on scaling that business. So we introduced new products and services. We moved the business to some of the business to automation. We used different third-party solutions to provide different scale-up strategies. So I was my background really is mainly operations. It's not financial, which people often think that mergers and acquisitions is about financials, and yes it is, but that's only one very small part of mergers and acquisitions. The success of mergers and acquisitions is actually based on operations, because it's how you integrate that business or a merger of businesses together. That's what creates a successful acquisition. So one of the quickest way to scale a business is through buying businesses. That is the quickest way to scale. But there are obviously organic strategies as well. And I do have clients that I work with that we do a whole customer journey map. I go through the whole end-to-end process. And I say, right, okay, look, this is your lead generation process. This is your sales process. This is your product or service delivery process. This is your aftercare process. What can we do in this business to, what opportunities are in there? And I identify opportunities with them. I run a project with them to actually implement those, what we've identified will help them scale. And that's exactly what we did with the business that we sold for 100 million in December. So that business was actually only started 10 years ago on someone's kitchen table. They bought one business to start with, which was a property company in Edinburgh. They then went and sourced extra funding, because it's easier to get extra funding if you're basing it on a business model that's existing. It's obviously easier to secure loans if you can prove to an investor how they're going to get their money back. So they then bought, in total over 10 years, they bought 36 businesses across 5 regions. Once we were in those 5 regions, we then bought smaller businesses, merged them into those bigger businesses. And what that took was the first business that they bought for 950,000, some of the money they used to buy that was borrowed. We then sold that for 10 million, because we were able to, 10 million, 100 million even. We then sold that for 100 million. But it wasn't just the fact of mergers and acquisitions. It was the fact that we consolidated their operational processes. So we had 36 businesses that were all operating in different ways. So we had to consolidate that into one operating model. Mm-hmm. We had to move their tech and their databases from 36 different systems onto one system. We had to change their training from 36 different ways of training to one way of training. And most importantly, culture. There was 36 different organizational cultures, and we needed to make sure that we'd consolidated into one positive culture that understood what the business was about, so that every rung in our business, everybody knew exactly what they were working on, what the ethics and the core values were behind the company. And I think it's operationally, that's essentially what we did. Obviously, in that 10-year period, we had the tenant fee ban. So all estate agents and letting agents suddenly lost overnight 40% of their income. So we had to introduce new products and services that would fill that gap. Mm-hmm. So a lot of the scale-up procedures that we did was we looked at bringing in different products and services. So a lot of that was insurances. So we would sell like rent and legal protection insurance, landlord insurance, tenant insurance. We did
one-stop shop where they could get everything in one place. And
yeah, exactly. So but what that did was we already had this bank of clients. We already had tenants there. We already had landlords there. So it was reviewing that journey and going, well, actually, we can't charge tenant fees now, but actually we've got these clients that have all these needs. So what can we bring into the business that are a product and service that will fulfill the needs of our clients that we can then deliver? Insurance is a very good method of bringing in additional income because they're passive products. Mm-hmm. So typically people will pay for them monthly. You as an introducer obviously receive a percentage from that. So as a business owner, introducing passive income, it doesn't have to be insurance, but if it can be passive income, that's a really good way of not having to work too hard to add extra income into your business. Extra income into your business means that your business is worth more. So that means your enterprise value is more, which means your business is worth more, so you can sell it for more at the end. So it's when we talk about scale,
cash flow point of view as well, that you've then got a regular income rather than you might just get a one-off lump sum every now and again for whatever it may be that you're selling.
Yeah, exactly. And I think scaling up is three. For me, my definition of scaling it is 3 things. It's refining and automating processes. It's adding in different forms of products and services and income, and it's buying other businesses to scale up, your market share or your product range or what your business is worth. So that for me, that's the three things. And I think a lot of people confuse the difference between growth and scale. Mm-hmm. Growth is obviously where you're growing a business using your existing resources in your business, whereas scaling is growing a business where you're not having introduced new resources. So you're not needing to acquire, bigger premises to go to another market, for example, or recruit more team members to be able to serve more clients. If you're doing it in a different way, scaling is it's a different way of operating, but it's not growing a business, it's scaling a business. And I think, as a business owner, you need to understand the two. Yeah, there's organic growth and inorganic growth, which is typically buying businesses. So
Fantastic. Well, I've learned so much about selling businesses that I'll be able to share with my own clients now as well. So thank you so much.
No worries. Absolutely. I've enjoyed it.
If any of our listeners want to get in contact with you and find out more about how you may be able to help them kind of sell their business or scale up their own business, how's the best way for them to get in contact with you?
Yeah, so actually if you go to, I obviously have a website, which is theempireproject.co.uk. Actually on there, I have there's a free mini masterclass actually, which is a 45-minute masterclass, which takes you through the whole 4 stages of taking a business through the scale up procedure and then preparing it for sale and selling it. And there's no catch to that. You don't have to put your email address in. It's literally a video that's live on the website, so anybody can go and watch that. And I think that's probably the first step, because that will help any business owner transition into the right way of thinking.
Right.
And then after that, you can book a free call with me on the website. I do 30-minute free discovery calls to discuss, what I think you should be doing in your business now to prepare it. So yeah, that's probably the best thing to do, is head to the empireproject.co.uk.
So I've got one last question. As we're called the Money Compass, we always like to ask our guests one important question. Where is your favourite holiday destination?
Oh, that's a good one. It's actually Switzerland.
Switzerland?
Switzerland. Yeah, it's actually Switzerland. Every time I go to Switzerland, it just makes me immediately relaxed. It's just, the environment, the clean way of living, the food, the fondue. I'm a big cheese fiend, so it's definitely the fondue, and obviously just it's the waterfalls, the atmosphere, the lakes. It's just absolutely beautiful. We actually have a touring caravan, so we generally go through, normally non-pandemic wise, we normally go through travel Europe every summer, and we 100% start in Switzerland every single time, because when you're transitioning from working and working with your clients, the first thing you want to do when you go on holiday is relax. So we always generally go to Switzerland first to just have that moment. Just completely download everything, and it's like, okay, yeah, now I'm ready to go on holiday. So yeah, that's my favorite.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Emma, and sharing all of your knowledge. And your favorite holiday destination is one I'm going to have to now check out. So thank you so much.
No worries, thank you. I've appreciated it. I absolutely enjoyed it.
And with that, we've completed today's episode. We hope you have enjoyed following along with us today and taking another step closer to a financially secure future.
If you've enjoyed today's podcast, you can head over to themoneycompass.co.uk, where you can find out more information, hints and tips from today's episode.
If you'd like to get more involved, share your own experiences and learn from a friendly community on a similar journey to you, why not join us in our Facebook group, The Money Compass, where we will support you in navigating your way to financial success.
Thank you for listening, and see you next time.